Hey, this is Scott from Photography Bonsai. I'm going to be talking to a professional photographer today about the COVID-19 situation currently, which is March 25th, 2020. We'll be talking about wedding photography. This is Christopher Tyson, C. Tyson Photography.
You got it, man.
You do mostly wedding stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm primarily a wedding photographer. That's by far the lion's share of my income. I also do some commercial work, mainly with hotels and event industry stuff, but by
Mhm.
far, and what has been the primary source of my income has been weddings specifically and exclusively for about 11 years now.
Awesome. Yeah, I went to your, what was it like? Was it like a meet and greet photography, wedding photography?
How to do weddings. Yeah, a little bit of everything. Just
Got the
trying to meet
notes.
some new. Yeah,
Yeah.
see, yeah. Try and meet some new people and give them the opportunity to kind of get a taste of what it would be like being a wedding photographer. It's a tough thing to tell you what it is. It's more something you just experience. But yeah,
Yeah. I did it once with someone else, but I also did it once or twice as just like a friend thing. So I kind of have an idea, but definitely a lot of helpful information that you gave us for the timeline. That was really
good,
interesting.
good.
Actually, let's introduce your photography a little bit more. So you said the weddings and also the extra stuff. So with your wedding photography, how many do you tend to do per year?
My first few years of shooting weddings, so 2009, 10, and 11, I would definitely consider myself a part-time wedding photographer. In there, those years, I was right around the 8 to 12 mark. And then 2012, I got close to 20, and then 2013 to present, I think the lowest I've done is 27, and the highest I've done is 38.
Wow, that's a lot.
If they end up being spread out over the year, it's not too bad, but it's the rough ones when it's just literally the summer months and a little bit of fall. Those are long years. Yeah.
I can imagine. So, with the current situation, the virus outbreak, is pretty much everything canceled at this point? Or,
The cancellations that I've had so far have come from the client end. Not too many of the cancellations I've experienced have come from like the venue end. The
okay,
venues are right now are like literally hanging on to the last minute, and I think over the next few days here, we'll probably see a lot of the May ones get canceled, is what my gut says, and that's going to be a venue based one, but it's a weird limbo to be in. Nobody's ever had a business plan or an idea of what to do if our industry just gets turned off like a light switch. And so we're all just kind of figuring this one out and feeling this one out. And yeah, I don't think anybody has any good answers on what exactly is going to happen.
for everyone watching in Illinois, basically, we have a stay at home guideline for the
Mandate?
most part.
Yeah, he said mandate, but then he didn't sign an executive order. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
another one of those nobody really knows. Like, and then, yeah, how do private events fall into that? So it's
You mentioned with the venues that they're trying to hold on to whatever they've got. How can they even do that in this situation?
hopes and prayers.
Yeah.
Because, Illinois, like our mandate right now is only through April 7th because they're kind of doing things in 2 week blocks at a time. But when it comes to a wedding, when you have to pull so many different things together and guests are traveling from out of town and coordinating so many different things with different companies, and just, you can't wait until 2 days before your wedding to call it off. You have to start planning ahead of time. And the other thing that's taking place is the March and April brides, and even some of the May ones who have already rescheduled, are taking a lot of the only few free dates we had later in the year. So if May all of a sudden is forced to reschedule and everybody tries and reschedules at the same time, you run out of dates and you run out of vendors very quickly, and nobody has an answer for what to do in that situation. I can't completely disagree with just trying to keep things as the status quo. If we can get back to doing things as we normally do, that would be the easiest solution to this. However, the people who are committing to reschedule and change dates and do stuff right now, they're being able to choose their dates and choose and have options and stuff. And pretty soon options won't be on the table, and it will just kind of be a free for all if this does go into May and especially June.
Do you mostly do it on weekends or do you actually have a decent amount of weddings in the weekday? period?
Well, I have weddings Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all throughout the year. Not every single one of them by any stretch of the imagination, but here and there. Last year, I had my first just random Tuesday wedding. It wasn't a donation wedding or anything, just literally a Tuesday. And I have the feeling that there'll be more Tuesday weddings this year.
Yeah,
It's an availability, and it's an option to where if you still wanted to get married in a shorter time frame and not have to regroup and do everything, that's definitely something to consider. So we're entering all kinds of territory of we've never done this before, so we'll just kind of figure it out on the spot.
what are some of the challenges to a small business currently in this situation?
Anything tied to the wedding industry, the biggest issue we're having is literally our income was turned off on a light switch, just literally that. And, photographers are a little different. A lot of us either work out of our house or a small studio. I have a studio space, but other companies that have employees, like a DJ company or a florist company, they have the added issue of not only income for them, but how do they pay their employees? How long do you keep your employees? What is unemployment play? And then, how is government going to have the assistance in place for small business? It's just, there's a lot of unknowns to the point that it's really difficult in something that we don't have clear direction. And I would say that's not really anybody's fault. This is just something that nobody's experienced before. Again, nobody had a business model and plan in place for when the entire world gets shut down. Nobody did. The biggest thing that it's also going to affect is the timing of it. For us coming out of our slow season, March, April, we generally don't have a lot of our strong savings built up and in play. And especially now, because the way we've always done it is, okay, we look at our calendar, we budget, we say April, May, June, we have this many weddings, this many events. This is our cash flow. This is when it'll come in. This one will apply. And we budgeted accordingly to that. And that's how we've done it every year. And right when that cash flow is supposed to ramp up is right when the light switch was switched. And so nobody's in a good spot right now because we budgeted accordingly to what was going to happen. And that's my toughest thing that I personally experience is budgeting and planning for a cash flow to come in and then just not have it come in. There's a really good chance that I'll be able to sort out most of it without taking a huge financial loss as far as actual weddings themselves. But that doesn't help me pay my rent, and my mortgage in 7 days. That's the tough part.
I know that previously when I was at your event, you talked about doing a little bit of additional photography, the different type with the hotels.
That's been my saving grace through this. Towards the end of last year, late fallish, I had opportunity kind of develop working with Hilton and some other properties all across the United States and photographing them and documenting. I talked to my fiance about, disappearing for 2 and 3 days at a time and traveling and having a 1-year-old and how that would work. And coming out of that conversation, we're like, hey, we're entering our slower year. This is an opportunity we have. Let's make it work. And so we made it work. And, so there's many a times, I'd fly down the Mississippi and then I'd fly directly over to Washington, or I'd fly directly to South Carolina and then come home and then try and do everything else and then be a dad and then have a sick kid and stuff. And the saving grace I have with that is anytime you deal with anything in the corporate world, no payments come quickly. So a lot of my payments that I've had take sometimes almost 90 days to get to me. So I actually have a backlog of payments and profit coming in that's going to help me dramatically in this spot. Kind of luck. I wasn't planned to be that, but it's definitely going to be one of my saving graces that this off season, we made the commitment that we were going to work rather than just kind of relax. Worked out great. I'm not going to argue with it.
Does this kind of give you motivation to potentially branch out a little bit more in the future with your photography? Or is there no time once the weddings start?
Yes and no. No hotel wants their photos of the property taken on a weekend. They're always packed. So these are only taking place Monday through Thursday. And so the question is can I be efficient enough when I'm on the road as far as editing and keeping my business in play and meetings and stuff and still do this? I definitely probably won't turn down a lot of opportunities, but there'll definitely be some weeks in there where I'll probably black them out and say, hey, I love you guys, but I can't travel right now. I need to take care of this first. So the way I am operating my business is weddings come first. Weddings have their pick of my time. And then if I can fill something else in, I'll fill something else in. And maybe even push something in there that isn't an easy fill, but I'll kind of smash it in. But that goes kind of with everything that I've done from day one. Like I generally don't turn down the opportunity to explore, to taste, and especially when you can make money doing it.
Yeah.
Why would you tap the brakes on that? You never know what's going to happen or the opportunity that it's going to lead into. So just go experience it. The worst thing that can happen is if you do it for a short period of time and you're like, hey, this just isn't for me, or my timing's not right. And then you get out of it. But there's nothing wrong with trying it out. And I tried it out and it's been a huge, huge win for us.
Let's just assume that this situation changes by June.
Okay.
At that point, do you want to kind of speculate what's going to happen with the wedding situation?
Well, let me ask you this, June 1 or the end of June? Because that is going to be a very critical month, I think, for all of us. I think a lot of us in the industry, we can weather May, and I think a good chunk of us have already budgeted in a way that we don't think the May weddings are going to happen. June's going to be the one where if this gets pushed into June, or let's just say they ease recommendations and they allow like the smaller gatherings, weddings are probably going to be one of the last things they like officially say and allow. Hey, let's bring 300 people together and serve food and be around for 8 to 10 hours and have a lot of elderly and high risk people at it.
That's true.
It probably will be one of the last things they rubber stamp and say, hey, you're good to go on. So it's not inconceivable that a good chunk of businesses could be moving back to normal by the beginning of June, but weddings are still kind of in a weird limbo, or almost in a way like bootlegged, where you kind of have them off the grid or a different way than
Oh, right.
Yeah, really big.
Legal. Yeah.
Food is going to be a big one. They've been very clear about restaurants in Illinois. All restaurants that serve food to somebody who comes in and sits is not open, period. So now, does a wedding reception count as that? And that's where like we get into this weird area that I don't know. So I would say if we can start doing weddings again June 1, it'll be a very painful year. Nobody's really going to grow. Nobody's going to have like a big, giant, huge win of a year. But all of us will survive, I think. I don't think there'll be too much long-term damage. June's going to be the big one, because then at that point, you've already pushed March, April, May brides later into the year, or also into 2021. If you have to do June as well too, we're going to run out of availability. The other thing to think out is if you're a 2021 bride who's thinking about getting married, or you just got engaged, a lot of your prime dates are going to disappear very, very quickly from the rescheduling as well. By shutting us down for only a small period of time can greatly affect how literally the next 18 months of these weddings are going to pan out and how they're going to work out.
Yeah, scheduling, I can imagine trying to push 3 months into June, July, August. Hopefully you can manage that like physically and being capable of it.
Yeah, it's the physical portion of it. It's the backlog of editing. It's the time sitting in front of the computer. Get out of here. Yeah. It's going to be scheduling the emails, scheduling the meetings. If you're a wedding venue, it's going to be having the amount of staff that you need to do it, because a lot of the wedding venues rely just on weekend only staff. So a lot of the people have regular jobs. So if we start doing those Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday weddings, where are you going to get the staff to do this? There's so many pieces to it when you start digging into it that, in all the DJs or even some photographers who rent gear, there's only enough gear to rental to go around too. So
it's true.
Yeah, May, June's going to be very telling, and some people are going to be squeezed pretty hard, and it's not fun to see and it's not fun to know. But to think that every single one of us as wedding vendors had a great savings account, and we planned ahead and we budgeted for having our industry turned off for multiple months, I don't think that's a fair thing to put on all of us. But the end result is that we have to pay bills.
Yeah.
That's coming sooner than later. Yeah.
Do you always have a second photographer, or is that kind of part of your option for a wedding couple?
It's included in my initial, like when somebody says, how much do you charge for a wedding? The initial price that I talk about always includes a second photographer.
Okay. So do you think you would find it challenging if it is pushed back to find so many people to help you out?
I'd say probably across all the weddings that are like of an average to decent budget and size, 80 to 85% of them have two shooters. And
Okay.
then if let's just say a really busy area time frame in our Northern Illinois Rockford area, let's just say we have 10 weddings going on per day where that need a second shooter. If all of a sudden all these things get compressed and we're now to 15 weddings that happen on a Saturday, that means we need 15 second shooters.
Yeah.
And some of these people who are second shooting now have their lead wedding on their own because people are running out of dates and stuff gets passed off. So that will be a pain point, and that's going to be another scramble because there's only so many of them. Photographer forums, you'll probably see us 3 days before a wedding begging for a second shooter and stuff. And that's one of those things like having that second shooter development and training is getting in front of that as well too. It wasn't planned on at that time of happening like that, but it's another one of those things. We have a list of people that we can start developing and pooling and preparing for it. I know I have a friend in the floral industry, and they've already had to push so many dates to later in the year, and she's already looking at these dates like, oh my gosh. And she went to her employees and just like, get ready. Like,
Okay.
Get ready to work. There's no answer to it other than that. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you can think of?
I would like to give, like, if anything, I could give like a word of encouragement to like some of my fellow people within the industry, and that like this is an ebb and flow. This is a very painful season, but it is just a season. It's something that, just as summer moves through a season, winter is going to move through a season. And there will come a time when we're on the other side, and get ready to ramp up. And my greatest thing that I'm doing for my business and what I want to encourage all of us other vendors is to take this time to get better and to hone those things, to develop skill sets, to put, policies and practices in place that once spring does happen, you're ready to put that gas pedal down and go, because it's going to get chaotic very, very quickly. As much as I definitely 2 days ago, I had a day where I was just like, I'm just kind of done with everything and I'm not going to do anything of value. And I'm just going to probably get fat on the couch for a day. And I just kind of gave up on the day. No problem admitting it at all. But if we do that for a week and 2 weeks and 3 weeks right now, while this downtime is, all of a sudden spring's going to get here and we're not going to be ready. So just take advantage of this time and do the things that you've been wanting to do as far as making your business better and also making yourself better as a person, and get ready, because once we make it to the other side, it's going to be fun. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be busy, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities out there for us to grow very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, I learned that it is a very physical job as well. So maybe some actual training would help.
Start jogging. I downloaded the Couch to 5K app. I'm going to start running here because what great better way to social distance than just to run away from people.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Thanks for your time. Again, see Tyson Photography on Instagram and the website. So ctysonphotography.com.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Awesome.
man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So I'm just going to start off. If you make a mistake or anything, just pause and then redo it.
Sounds good.
I'm going to edit this for sure. So
now, what part do I freestyle rap?
Whenever you feel like it.
Okay.